Let's get started. Once again, thank you guys for being here. How are the labs? Woo! Okay, cool. We love to hear that. We hope that you connected with some scientists. So if you don't remember me from the workshop, my name is Sarah Sandoval. I'm an education outreach specialist here at Salk. I actually went to UCSD across the street when I was a student. So if you ever have questions about internships or anything to do with our high school programs, I'm your person to talk to. So we have some wonderful, fantastic, fun career panelists here. They took time out of their Saturday to come talk to you guys. Yeah, thank you. That was so genuine. You guys are so sweet. Okay, so first up, we have Rich. Rich, can you wave your hand? Your face is on the screen, but just in case. So, Rich is the Director of Innovation. Yeah, oh my God, you guys are so sweet. So Rich is the Director of Innovation Partnerships, of Office of Technology Development. And I have to shout out OTD on Salk. They deal with a lot of our patents and things, including scientists' ideas and how they get credit and get paid for them. And I'm sure he'll talk about that. And let's see. Oh, I have to read always the fun facts. Those are my favorite parts. He likes to get into nature for hikes or bike rides, reading fiction, watching movies. Gardening. You love plants, Rich?
I do.
I need a Salk garden here. I don't know if other Salk staff agree, but we need a garden. And then we have Charlotte Rambla. Hi, wave, yeah. Charlotte's like our superstar scientist volunteer because she does a lot of our speaking engagements, so we appreciate you, Charlotte. She's a postdoctoral fellow. She's going to explain what that is, but that's what you do after grad school. You start working in a lab. So she has a PhD in plant breeding and crop science. She likes to play guitar, writing songs, and You host a podcast? She hosts a podcast called Illuminata. Oh my gosh, go listen to her podcast. I'm going to go listen to it afterwards. And we have Jocelyn. Everyone say hi, Jocelyn. Jocelyn is a graduate student researcher, and she has a bachelor's of science in biochemistry and molecular and cell biology. She also enjoys hiking, going to the beach. Oh my God, Jocelyn, you scuba? Very talented. I'm scared to scuba. We should talk. Try to make me scuba. And then last but not least, we have Oliver. Oliver's in communications, and he's actually a senior graphic designer. So like I mentioned in the foyer, there are other things you can do at Salk that you don't have to be in the lab. There are things you can do outside the lab, and this is one example. And Oliver likes moments with his family, traveling when possible, cooking, and consuming food. I feel you. That's the best part. The worst is cleaning up. And binging way too much television. I think we could all relate to that. All right, awesome. So I'm going to get us started. So the way this career panel is going to go is I'll ask a couple questions of our panelists, and they're mic'd up so that you can hear them all. But we'll actually have an open Q&A at the end. Okay, great. Okay, so first question, and anyone can answer at any time, by the way, panelists. It doesn't have to go in order, or if you do want to go in order, that's okay too. Tell us about what's a day in your life? How does it look like? What do you do daily? Anyone could start.
I'll start. So that's okay, Rich?
That's fine.
Well, let's see. My day usually begins by, going on social media and see what's trending, like, Travis Kelce and so usually my day, the best part about my job is actually it varies day to day. My projects as a graphic designer can vary from, doing the in-house publication that you guys might have seen, designing that, designing logos, designing signage, web templates, just dealing with photography, working with outside vendors, and I think that's the best part of my job. Never is boring. There's always something new and exciting to work on. Yeah.
Maybe I can go. Oh, let's work. Oh, no, it's working. Okay. So, yeah, I am a postdoc. So after, as Sarah said, after you do your PhD, and you're not like, and you want to keep your career, like you want to keep staying in academia, and maybe you want to be a principal investigator, so having your group, or maybe you want to teach, so you do a postdoc. And as a postdoc, you're more independent, so you're doing your own project and you work on your project. And yeah, I am a crop scientist, so I decided to do, I don't like being in the lab, like micropipetting, like being on my lab bench. I like doing different things, so I don't have a specific day to day, like I mix and match, like I do a lot of things. And so I like to keep it different, to keep it like, I just live by day, and sometimes I go to the greenhouse. If I have an experiment, a big experiment, I go in the greenhouse, and I work in wheat, so I do a lot of mostly like more specifically in the root system of wheat. So we do experiment, like we screen roots, we wash a lot of roots. I washed a lot of roots in my career, in my life. Like, it's okay, it's a noble job, like you have to do it. I mean, it's a noble thing to do, and yeah, you have to do it. And so it's going to be, so if I have a big experiment, I'm going to be spending in the greenhouse. And after we got the greenhouse data, we do analysis, and yeah, and hopefully we start writing a publication. So basically you do like experiment in the greenhouse, so you're like outside, surrounding by plants and doing things, practical, physical things. And after I read papers, I analyze my data, I do figures. So I like to keep it, and we have also meetings and to discuss new ideas. And so, yeah, that's a day-to-day. Like when, and sometimes you go to field, like I'm gonna go to Mexico we're gonna do like a field trial, so I'm gonna be in the field coring for roots, and so for like a month, so yeah, and washing roots again, washing roots. Yeah, that's my life.
So I guess I'll go next. I will be completely honest. I start every day with lots of coffee. I visit that coffee cart so many times throughout the day, and it's such it's a great way to just get out and ask some of your coworkers, do you want to go get coffee? Maybe they need a break. So lots of coffee as a PhD student. I'm a third year in biological sciences at UC San Diego, and my labs are here at the Salk. So many of you guys heard Pallav Kasuri this morning, the DNA origami professor. So he's one of my professors. Sometimes we get to build really awesome nanostructures in the lab. Other times we have a very basic day-to-day routine where we have experiments to accomplish. Other times I'm very productive, especially if I have to meet with Pallav like in 2 days or in the near future, then I know I have to get my experiments done. And occasionally we get to do awesome YouTube videos with Mark Rober, so that was really cool. So if you want to do grad school, definitely do grad school.
Okay, so for my day, I think it usually begins as well with coffee, of course, but looking sort of at what's on my to-do list, and I sort of have like a pipeline of things. So I kind of spend part of my time working on agreements between companies and the Institute so that they can collaborate with our scientists. And so sometimes that means, okay, I have to talk to a particular scientist and say, what's the scope of the work that you're going to do for this agreement? It really touches a lot of departments, because then we also have to talk to research accounting, because then they have to get a budget for that. And so that's one big part. And another part is trying to support our entrepreneurs here at the Institute. So we have a lot of very creative people here, and really doing cutting edge research. And so what that means is that a lot of their discoveries are really very new, potential new approaches to treat different types of diseases. And so we try to, they will oftentimes come to us and say, hey, I think this might be an invention. And so we ask them to sort of write down what they think it is, and then we kind of go back and forth, and we say, oh, you know what, you're right, that's something novel way to, influence a protein that could help, say with a particular type of cancer. And then we will work on, usually with an outside patent firm or a law firm to put together basically a provisional patent application. So that's like kind of like the draft application, and then that will go to the US Patent and Trademark Office, and then it will be evaluated by them. So I don't do all of those things myself, but we have a team of about 9 people, very varied in their experiences, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it, and it is varied. So kind of what Charlotte was saying, you know, it's not like the same thing every day, and if you're really kind of getting stuck on one project, it's like, okay, I need to maybe refocus on something a little bit different for a while, and you know, that helps you, you know, you're always thinking about it in the back of your mind, and then later on you'll come up with a solution.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for going through your day today. I have an interesting question. What did you want to do when you were 17? And then we'll transition to something that makes sense. But yeah, think about that. Tell the students, what did you want to do when you were in high school?
Well, when I was 17, I was very much into comic books. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I used to draw a lot as a kid. And that kind of transferred into just me kind of following into graphic design naturally. Still, it kind of fell into the art field a bit. But yeah, what a time to be alive now with all those comic book movies that are coming out, and I love it. But yeah, that was me in a nutshell at 17, other than very awkward, socially awkward. Yeah, maybe a little still.
So when I was 17, science wasn't my plan A. So yeah, I wanted to be a rock star, like Taylor Swift. How many likes Taylor Swift here? Nice. So yeah, I wanted to be like Taylor Swift, like writing my songs and just playing. And yeah, so I studied music since I was 6, and sort of science was like my plan B, and now it became my plan A. So yeah, I wanted to be like Taylor Swift. So yeah.
So for me, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And I started sewing when I was in 8th grade. And I thought, okay, one day my clothes is going to be on the runway. Of course, then I became a scientist. But what I found really interesting, because I still do a lot of sewing now, is depending on the field you go into, mine being a little bit like bioengineering, I still get to engineer, but now I'm engineering like DNA, and I'm designing the folds similar to like a clothing pattern. How are you going to stitch things together? So I think I realize now that what was driving me towards fashion design was the engineering component. So if you like a hobby that is not in science, think about why you might like that. There might be some connection to science there.
Yeah, I think I was really interested in biology, but more in on the environmental side, because I used to do a lot of hiking and camping when I was younger, and you know, I used to think about, well, what kind of job could I get and like be out here all the time, you know? And so for a while I thought, oh, well, what if you were like a forest ranger, or you know, and that's like, oh, I'm not sure I want to be in one of those like towers looking for fires, you know, for the rest of my life. And then also, like Charlotte, I was really interested in music, so I had a bunch of friends who were also interested in music and had bands, and we would get together and make lots of noise and think that we were, you know, coming up with something great. And but I think one of my older brothers kind of convinced me to think a little bit more about the science track than, you know, starting a garage band or something.
Fair. I think we all imagined ourselves as rock stars or superstars.
Like,
Yeah.
I think science, like being a scientist, you're like a lot of things. You're not just like a researcher. Like you have to be a graphic, like you can be like because you need to do your figures, so you need to be a graphic designer. You need to present, and to make like a nice presentation, not boring. You need to be a communicator, because like you have to communicate your science. To be a writer, because you write like you need to write papers. And yeah, so it's like you need to be a manager, because if you're like a group leader, you need to be how to manage people. And yeah, so you are like Okay, a scientist it's a career, but like inside a scientist, there is like all these multitude things that so like everyone can be a scientist. Like science is for everyone, and you can find your place in science. Like there, and yeah, even like graphic designer designing all the figures, that's important.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
So this transition, so you thought back, who was I at 17, but how did you find yourself in your field and like here at Salk? How did that happen? What got you interested in science and to come here?
Wow, okay. I think first.
We're digging deep.
I guess
As a non-science.
Oh.
No, you know, I think when I actually first interviewed here with Salk, you know, it was a job that I came across. It looked kind of interesting. I wasn't totally on board with it just yet. But when I interviewed and they kind of showed me everything that was involved here and all the good they were doing here and just some of the collateral they were doing, it opened up a kind of a whole new world and a challenge for me as a graphic designer. Because it is challenging as a person that doesn't understand science as well as some of the other panelists up here. It challenged me to try harder as a designer. And that actually kind of makes me work with my department more too. With our writers, sometimes I'll come across something I'm designing for, like the publication, and there's an article that I don't quite understand. I'll just have to talk to them or somebody that knows a little bit more of the science and just say, you know, make me understand this. I need to design a piece around this. And some of the stuff, some of the just like microscopy and the imagery, it's some beautiful artwork if you just take a step back and look at it. All the colors, all the shapes. I mean, that opened up a whole new world of design for me that I never thought I'd be excited about because I was never big into science. And, you know, but here I am, ironically. You know, science was never like my favorite subject in school, to be honest. And now I'm working for a science institute as a graphic designer. Yeah.
Science choose you.
Yeah.
Mine, it's a long story, and I'll try to sum up. So yeah, I did so it was my plan B. So, but like, yeah, it started from, actually, I wanted to be a researcher during my master thesis. So I did my undergrad in Italy, so I'm Italian. And so I did everything in Italy, and during my master thesis, I decided to go to Saudi Arabia. So there is this big university. It's like sort of like a small city of science, so like all researchers are there from all over the world. And so for the first time, I had my first research project. And so I was in Saudi Arabia because I was working to understand how plants were reacting to like drought condition. So I was studying a bit like the mechanism and the thing on Arabidopsis. And just like having my own research project and seeing like the results and seeing like what I was doing, I could see like the results and yeah, that was working. It was so exciting. So I decided that I wanted to do a PhD. But before that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was supposed to do in my life. So I followed this dream. So I was looking for doing a PhD, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So at that time, like I did my thesis on molecular biology, but like I felt the need to see how you can apply molecular biology in the lab in the real, like in practice. So I thought like maybe I should do something in plant breeding and see like how can you translate from the lab into the field and how to make a change, like to actually like a change in the world and because I always wanted to help to feed the upgrowing population, so to find a sustainable way to grow more food, but like being conscious to our environment. So yeah, so I did my PhD in Australia, where I was working in the field, again, working in roots, a lot of washing roots again, and so yeah, I washed a lot of roots in my life. And so, but yeah, basically, again, like, it chose me, like I didn't plan, so I just end up here, and I end up here at Salk as well, like, it was just like I just end up here, and I just keep doing and living the moment, and not thinking too much what I'm gonna do, and so it just just follow your passion and yeah, go out of your comfort zone. So like that's what I'm doing. So yeah, that's it. Sorry.
So to go off a little bit on what you mentioned, Charlotte, of following your passion, I don't know if I'm like the best example because I switched my major 4 times. And I didn't know that they put it on your transcript, so I learned that later. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I first went to community college. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. So really, I took community college as explore, figure out what you like to do. And sure, I definitely explored switching the majors. Eventually, I took a biology class and I really liked it. And don't tell my bosses, but I got a C in my first biology class in college. So at first I thought, oh, I'm not cut out to be a biologist. I just got a C in like biology 101. And if I would have stopped there, obviously I wouldn't be here now. But instead I looked at maybe why was I approaching college in a way that I wasn't being successful. One, I was taking so many different classes that because I didn't know what I wanted to major, that they kind of didn't overlap with each other. It was really difficult to study. I also didn't know how to ask for help. And so when I learned how to ask for help from my mentors, the professors that I was taking classes with, then it really changed the way that I pursued college. And then I became a very successful college student. And you realize that you have a lot of resources around you, but if you don't ask, you won't know. And if that professor, teacher, mentor, high school teacher doesn't know, they might guide you to someone that does. So then eventually I did biology. I transferred to Cal State San Marcos. So I'm from San Diego. So I knew I wanted to stay nearby because I'm one of 8 kids. So I wanted to stay close by and help out my family. And then when I graduated, I started working at UC San Diego as a researcher, as a research assistant. And I remember coming to the Salk for the yearly conference for immunologists. And I thought, oh my gosh, this institution is beautiful. I want to work there. So then when I applied to graduate school at UCSD, I had 3 rotations. So that means you're kind of trying and testing out the labs that you might join. Here at Salk, and so I kind of planned it that way, that I wanted to be here at Salk, so I selectively looked for professors. And because I really am open to any kind of research, I tried a bunch of different things, and I thought, okay, something, I will try it and see if I like it. And sure enough, I ended up in 2 really cool labs, and now I get to do shapes out of DNA, so I never thought I'd be doing that, so it's really cool. Oh,
that's a great story. Yeah, I just want to pick up on something that you said, which was, early, I think I said before, I knew I was interested in biology, but I just didn't know, like, well, what can you do with biology, like? And at the time, it just didn't seem to me like there were that many obvious kinds of jobs in the field. And I was just curious about, well, how can you become a researcher, or, maybe that's just sort of something, unobtainable. And but I think really what it is you find something that you're interested. Your curiosity is piqued. And I think for me, when I was in college, my first couple years. And I actually didn't really know if it was for me either. I mean, I think I wasn't the greatest high school kid. I think I was having too much fun, banging around on instruments with my friends. But I basically learned about pieces of DNA that can move around in cells that are called transposable elements. And I heard a story about a scientist, a female scientist, who was at another amazing institute on the East Coast called Cold Spring Harbor. Her name is Barbara McClintock. And have you ever seen Indian corn? You'll see all the different kernels on it that have the different colors. And some of those actually they were actually bred by Native Americans to have those colors, but they also knew that there was something in there that actually helped generate natural variation in the plants and actually helped them to select better corn over time. So that got me I just found it fascinating, and as time went on, I decided, yeah, I do want to try and do a degree, and it was also in plant science. And then it's like the next step, where do you go? And so you'll find in your life there's just different things, different mentors that influence you, but you really have to find something that you're just super interested in or makes you happy. And since then, I did my PhD, I did my postdoctoral studies. I actually thought about looking for a faculty job. It's pretty tough. I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. There was lots of biotech companies, and I thought, wow, this is like a great time because the human genome was just being finished sequencing. It was very exciting. So that's what I did. I went into biotech, and but I think the thing that I liked about it always was I always had a fondness for the academic science, because often, when you're in a company, you're doing science, in many cases discovery science, but in the end, you're hoping you're going to make a product, and then that product is going to go out and help people, but also help the company, bring in revenue so that they can make more products. And about 3 years ago, I saw a job posted here, and I always thought technology transfer would be a really interesting thing to do, because you're at that interface between the scientists and the outside world and the commercial public world. And so I had to jump at it. And so I'm just very grateful to be here and working with all these amazing people.
Great, wow, what fantastic journeys. And as you can tell, students, not everyone had a linear journey. And I know when I was 17, I thought it was point A to point B to point C, but that's not true. I like one of the panelists, think of as Jocelyn, you should try different things. Your journey is gonna go ding, 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 and that's okay, like a pinball machine.
If I could add really quick,
Yeah.
I also tried different research. I started in plant biology for 2 years, then did immunology, and now I'm in structural biology, biophysics. So in a way, when I'm trying to sound more organized about my thoughts of how I went through that, I say, I started with the biggest organism, and then I went cells, and then inside of cells. So it just happened it worked out. But you could also try different research when you're an undergrad. Explore. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, I'm gonna take questions from the audience now. So if you have any questions, and it could be to anyone, and you can go up to the microphone right on top. Yeah, perfect. Oh, we have one in the back.
Do you have a question real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
What exactly, do you have any advice when it comes to honing in your career? Let's say you figured out you want to go in the bio/biomedical/biotechnical, that general field. What is your advice for narrowing it down to find a specific major or career or something like that?
Do you want to go?
I can answer really quick, and then
Yeah.
if you guys want to add. So biology is amazing because it's a huge umbrella. Really, biology is in biotechnology. So I think for you going into college, starting off with biology, if you know that's what you're interested in, you'll start learning about how different research is applied, how people are doing developments, and that's how you can start pivoting in terms of maybe you like chemistry, maybe you'll do biochemistry, maybe you like cellular biology, so you'll go that route.
Yeah.
But starting with biology is great.
And once you figure out what kind of topic you like, you can go for an internship and see if you really like it.
All right, thank you.
I noticed that you said, I'm sorry. I noticed you said that you had a PhD, or you were working towards your PhD. What made you decide to further your education, and what advice would you have for others who are thinking of whether they should get a PhD?
So I wanted to get a PhD because I wanted to teach. I wanted to be a professor. Because I wanted to be a professor, and after I wanted to be a group leader, but now that I am in the research, I'm I don't want to be a group leader, but I still want to be a professor. I want a life, so I want to be able to. Sorry for PIs, yeah. But yeah, because I wanted to teach, and it was something that I really wanted to do. So I would advise you to get a PhD if you really want to have it, because it's tough. It's not for everyone. It's really mentally tough, and you need to get prepared. It's not like a degree, it's a journey. It's a journey where you get to learn yourself, and it's a learning when, like, it's basically a journey where you get to become an academic, how to be an academic, and it's not for everyone, and that's fine. Like, I mean, like, I can't be a graphic designer, so like, it's fine. I'll live with that, like, but yeah, if you really want to stay in academia and you want to teach, you want to have your group leader, and you feel like that's your way, I would recommend to do that. But if you're not sure what you want to do in your life, you're like, yeah, don't do it. You can get a better job without having.
I see a question here on the left. Go ahead.
Okay, so the first question was, can you repeat about the PhD?
The question was, when getting your PhD, or working towards your PhD, what has helped you or aided you in your path to do so?
It's a long way. So, what helped me to get? Do you want to?
Sure.
Or
So
like,
I'm still in.
I can add something, but like she's doing it.
I'm still in it. My thesis write-up doesn't exist yet in terms of.
I'll talk there later.
Yeah, so you have a project, and I know what my project is, and I have goals, and I have that written down. It doesn't pass 5 pages. When you finish your thesis and you can speak about this, like how long it's like a book, you know, of all the work that you've done.
It's like a baby, like giving birth. Same.
So, but for me, I think what keeps me motivated, at least in terms of how do I make sure, one, that I'm on track, and how do I keep doing, you know, this very niche field, how do I keep studying this, is really talking to other scientists and seeing how excited they get about their stuff as well. And you realize, oh, when they're talking to me, that's probably how I sound when I'm talking about my little protein and how I measure it with DNA origami. And I get really excited about it. But I think also meeting with friends, and I don't want to say in PhD you trauma bond, but you do have, you know, build your own network of students where you go through the same hardships, and these are going to be your friends, and maybe you still chat with your PhD colleagues. But
so my advice to survive a PhD is take care of your mental health, prioritize yourself. You're first, you're like the first, and after there is your PhD. But PhD is like, you're a relationship, like serious relationship. So like really serious. So you live for that. But you need to take care of yourself, because people have a tendency to forget themselves. And so like, you don't say like, who are you? I am a PhD student in this. No, you have a name. You're a human. You're like someone, okay? So like, yeah, just doing that and start planning, start thinking. It's like a way of thinking. So like PhD is like a way of critical thinking about your experiment. And yeah, it's a journey of how to become an academic. So mental health, really strong mental health, like take time for yourself, have a routine, have a mentor, find mentors. Find a mentor for like your mental health, find a mentor for how to write, find a mentor to how to do a presentation. It's like a training on how to be an academic. So you need to, learn as much as you can. If you're lucky enough and you know what you want to do after, focus on that. You want to be a crop scientist, okay, you need to be good in statistics, you need to be good in presenting, you need to be good in writing, you need to be good in, I don't know, like set up your experiment. But also, it's also really important to, something that I tell everyone that is like wants to be a researcher or wants to be in academia is build your network. So network, like talk with so many people that after your PhD you can get a job. And so like just open your network, and so just do a lot of networking with people and try to get like as much. Like, that's why I'm doing a podcast as well. So I get my network like really wide. So yeah, so that's why. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That actually segues us in really well into your next question, which was how can you get more involved and how can you actually build that network and find mentors? So I mentioned earlier this high school summer scholars program. This is what I'm going to talk to you about next. But before we move on, can we all give a big round of applause to our You guys can move if you want to, but if you want to just sit here and have everyone stare at you, you're more than welcome to stay. Yeah, it's fine. So the high school summer scholars program. Raise your hand if you've heard of it before today. Nice. Oh, okay. Keep your hand raised if you've applied already. Oh. Good job. We've got a few. Okay. Now, hopefully, by April 5th, which is when the application closed, all of you will have applied. So, not only do you get to have a possibility of being in a lab, but if you are interested in learning more about patent law or about graphic design, we have an internship available in both locations. So we have a scientific communication position and an OTD, or Office of Technology Development position, in addition to lab positions. So if you are interested in graphic design, scientific communication of any kind, you can actually have Oliver as one of your mentors. Or if you're interested in learning more about scientific law and patents, you could have Richard as your mentor. So lots of really cool things happening this summer, but again, it is a paid internship. So if you're like, oh, I need to have a job, I need to get paid this summer, this is a way to do it. It looks great on college applications. It's great experience for you, and it's a way to build that network so you can have mentors that are further along in their scientific career than you are. And there have actually been students who have had their names on scientific papers because they worked on active research in the lab over the summer. So they've had their name on research papers as 16-year-olds, which is pretty amazing. Now, guess what? We have this special person, Sarah, here. Sarah runs that program. So if there's anyone who can help answer your questions, it's this lady right here. Now, it is a pretty competitive program. There's only 12 spots, and as you can see, there's a lot of you. However, if you put down that you attended high school science day, it's like a little light bulb for us, being like, okay, this is someone who's really passionate about science and who already have given up time on a weekend to come and learn here. So it's kind of just one of those instant connections that we make. Now, other ways to get involved outside of just us, there are so many programs in San Diego County and throughout the nation that you can get involved in. Highly recommend taking a picture of this. Some of these are focused on students that come from underrepresented minorities. Women in Bio is super amazing. So if you are a woman or woman identifying, or if you're non-binary, this is a great organization for you to get involved in. There's also Reality Changers, Mana de San Diego, if you are of Hispanic origin, Black in STEM. You don't have to just be Black to be a part of that network. What's really great is that they just want to increase representation. But all of these different organizations are focused on mentorship. So if you are looking for a mentor or want to just ask questions of professionals or just get used to being in those professional environments, these are places that you can go to learn. They're all on Instagram too, or TikTok, so you can just find them. Okay. Now, if you want to watch more science stuff, we have a YouTube channel with our different lab videos, so you can just go and watch more Salk stuff. There's also a Where Cures Begin podcast, which is a Salk podcast run by Salk researchers. So if you are interested in learning more about Salk research, there's so many different resources on our website. Okay, now finally, my friends, there is swag outside of the door for you to take home. However, you can't get the swag until you complete your survey. So Student survey right over there. Teacher survey right here. You have to show proof that you completed it when you leave so that you can actually get the swag. Students, if you asked a question during the career panel, come up and get a free t-shirt. If you ask